Welcome to Let's Pour Up. Today, my guest is an amazing person who's been in the entertainment industry, media industry for over 15 years. Influencer, radio personality, on-air personality with Converge Media, and also has her own show on Fox 13. Back to Besa. Besa Gordon, welcome to Let's Pour Up.
Ew, thanks for having me.
Of course, yes. How are you doing today?
Not too shabby.
Okay.
It's not raining, so I'm happy.
Look at God, right?
All I needed was a little beanie, a
Yeah.
little jacket. I'm like, okay, Seattle.
I'm not mad at it.
Today.
I know. It's giving. I know. Look how we're dressed like completely different for the same weather because we don't know what it's going to give.
And that's the
Like-
whole thing. I don't know what it's going to give at about 6 or 7 o'clock. I might need
Exactly.
to zip this up by then.
Mind
but
you,
I'm
I have
prepared.
layers on.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
prepared.
I can unzip,
Yeah.
zip it up.
All of a sudden, there's no ankle showing.
Right. So we always start the show with a moment of meaning. And I'm going to read a quote and I'm just going to ask you to respond to it. It's kind of a long one, so bear with me. It says, "You are allowed to outgrow versions of who you used to be. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to shift what feels more aligned for you right now. You are allowed to keep growing. You are allowed to choose. You are allowed to be the version of you who you dream of being." How do you feel about that?
I like that. I think that it's very fitting because what some people might not realize is, like, for example, today is April 5th.
Yeah.
And then I want to say April 2nd is when Mercury retrograde started.
Hmm.
So everyone is just like, what's going on? There's like all this stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes that are going on right about now. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to just roll with those changes and kind of figure out where you want to go. Like for me, my changes is I don't drink anymore. So,
I saw that. I was
you
going to
know,
ask you about that.
yeah, for one, I'm having a really bad eczema flare up, and I've been doing research on that. And some of the things that they say you want to cut out is sugar, wheat, coffee, as much stress as possible, and also alcohol. And so I had already stopped like about 2 months ago before I really started having the flare up.
Okay.
But this flare up is making it even more of a reason for me not to drink anymore.
Yeah. Have you, I have a daughter who has eczema, and so it's like a constant battle of like trying to figure out, is it the detergent? Is it something we ate? Is it some, whatever. So how have you had eczema your whole life, and have you just had to manage it?
I've had it my entire life. Like there was a point when I was a little kid and my mom couldn't even recognize me because it was just all over my face.
Yeah.
And I would have to like walk around with towels on my face.
Oh, wow.
And I just have like scars everywhere.
Yeah.
Like right now it's from literally my neck all the way down to like my feet. So it's like I've been wearing a lot more long sleeves lately. I'm constantly like scratching.
Yeah.
I have to keep my nails done nowadays, whether I want to or not, because my regular nails will just like slice right through my skin.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because I'm having like these, they call them like topical withdrawals
Okay.
from the steroids that they put in like the topicals.
Yeah.
And my skin is just like freaking out
It's
right
not-
now.
it's not feeling
having
it. Gotcha. Yeah, my daughter's 14, so she's in that phase of same thing, like blotches and stuff, and the scratching. I'm like, girl, stop scratching. I know she can't control it. It's not, but I'm like, we're just trying to figure out, how to manage it. But
It's hard.
yeah,
It's very hard. And then once your body gets used to that topical, if you just stop, like that's when like your body
it's like
just,
a withdrawal.
yeah. So you almost either want to know that you're going to have to always use it or just don't use it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would love to learn a little bit more about you. I know we've kind of interacted on the social scene.
Yeah.
I recently found out you were from Seattle, and I don't know how I didn't know that. So tell me about you. You grew up in Seattle. How has where you've grown up affected kind of how you got into where you are today?
Yeah, a lot of people, it's really weird. A lot of people don't realize that I'm actually a CD girl.
I had
My
no
family
idea.
had a house in the CD, 19th
Yeah.
and Cherry.
Yeah.
Went to
Okay, 31st and
Rotary.
Olive. Okay.
Went to Rotary. I went to Meany Middle School for a year. And then I switched over to Mercer.
Okay.
I went to Franklin for a year. Hated it.
Oh.
Ended up going to Cleveland. Stayed there. But I don't really know how necessarily where I grew up really put me into what I'm doing because no one in my family actually does media.
Okay.
Everybody else is like, more so of like blue collar or like they have their own businesses. But I'm the only one that actually just talks for a living.
Yeah.
But I think it was just always something that I kind of wanted to do. Like I would always watch talk shows and, I would always listen to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get in trouble, your parents are like, I'm taking away the TV and da-da-da-da-da. No, when I got in trouble, my mom took away my radio because she knew that I liked to listen to the radio.
Yeah.
And it would relax me. And, I would listen to like Eddie Francis and Tiffany Warner. And, I would listen to the T-Man. Like that's just how I grew up.
Back. Ham sandwich? The ham sandwich again?
See, and I would wake up at 6 a.m. at like 6th grade just because I wanted to hear T-Man in the morning.
That's insane. Your parents let you listen to T-Man.
I don't know if they knew I was listening
my mom
to T-Man.
did. She wasn't going for it.
But yeah, so I think that for me, just because radio was just always like comforting for me, and I didn't have cable growing up, so it wasn't like I was able to watch all the shows that everybody had. So I was kind of able to keep up with what was going on by just listening to the radio, and then I would find out other things whenever I would go to school. So I guess you could say it isn't necessarily that I grew up in Seattle in terms of how I ended up getting into the media.
Yeah.
It's just something that I've always been attracted to.
That's dope. And you started with a blog, right? So what made you start a blog?
Honestly, like I'm one of those people where it's really weird. If I'm in a relationship and I have a breakup, I kind of have to find something to do to keep myself busy. Otherwise, I'm just like thinking about the breakup 24/7 and I'm like crying and I'm depressed and I'm just like, I just have to keep myself busy. So I started
distraction.
like, no, period. Because otherwise it's like you won't get anything done and you're just in bed all day and who wants to do that?
Yeah.
And so I just started reading different blogs, and the blogs, sometimes I'd be like, man, they're talking about events over here. They're talking about these artists, and like all these big artists, but there were also dope artists out here too.
Absolutely.
And then there would be different events that I would go to that were dope. And nobody was covering them in a way that they were covering national content.
Gotcha.
So I just started going to different events with my little point and shoot silver
Come
camera.
on, yeah. You have
Sometimes
to
my
take the
BlackBerry
USB and upload it to the computer.
Or it'd be like my little BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And, I would go get footage and pictures. I remember when Kurt Cobain was in town. That was the day that I ended up spilling I think it was like an AMF on my BlackBerry.
Oh my God.
I was able to quickly get a photo of him, and then it was a dub.
It was
a dub.
All that.
But yeah, no, like that's honestly, it was just, I felt like there was a void for it, and I felt like things that were happening in Seattle deserved to be talked about. So I started my blog, and it was called nabesa.com, and I started it like maybe, I don't know, probably like a few months after I graduated from high school.
Okay. And since then, you've come a very long way.
Yeah, since then, I've been on the radio in 5 cities. I have a TV show on Fox 13 Seattle.
Yeah.
It plays from here to like Canada. It's on the national Fox local app, so you can watch it anywhere in the nation.
That's so
Thank
dope.
You.
Do you walk into the studio every day like, I can't believe I'm doing this? Or is this like, no, I'm here, I'm supposed to be here, this is what it was always supposed to be? Or
I think it's more so of this is just my life, you know what I mean? Like my life is something nowadays where it's just what people see, like we were talking today, you're like, oh, what are you up to? Oh, you're working. And it's like, to me, it doesn't really feel like work. Like, but part of my job today was getting a dance lesson from Jerome Ski and Twix from Massive Monkeys. Yeah. That was work.
I mean, you get paid to do amazing things.
No,
so that's
absolutely.
Dope. Yeah.
Like when I was on the street team over at iHeart, there was a point when the people that would work in sales, we would do different remotes, and they'd be like, man, we don't really know any of the street team's names, and we would like to at least know their names. Yeah. But the thing is, the office was like separate, so it's like promotions was over here, radio stations were back there, and then sales were over there. So like a lot of times you didn't really cross paths with anyone on the street team unless you actually worked with them. So they came up with like these profile cards where it was like your name, favorite food, where you're from, and what you want to do when you grow up.
Yeah.
And so everybody else is like, oh, I want to be a TV host. I want to be on the radio. I want to own a business. I was like, I just want to be Besa. I just want to get paid to be me. Like I don't know what all these freaking titles are that you got. I want to be paid to be me, and that is it. I don't feel like putting a freaking title to it, because then I'm like held to just doing that one thing. I don't want to be held to doing that one thing. I just want to be me and get paid to be me.
So what does that look like? What does your day-to-day look like? Because I know you were all over today.
Depends on the day, honestly. for example, like this Monday, I was just in the office all day.
Okay.
Next Monday, I have 2 or 3 shoots. So it just
Yeah.
kind of, it really varies. You know, on a day like today, you know, I post some social media stuff. I'm promoting the show because it comes on Saturday.
Okay.
Then I go over to the W to do interviews with some of the dancers from Lords of the Floor. Then we all go down to Pike Place Market because they do a flash mob. Then there's a mixer later on tonight. Then there's the preliminaries and the actual event tomorrow. And then I'm also here with you. And so,
girl, I'm tired listening to your. So how do you practice self-care and when do you sleep? Do you sleep?
I take naps.
Okay.
I haven't been taking naps as much as I used to, but there
Okay.
was a point when I would be like, you know, I would take a nap. So my Thursdays are actually my hardest days of the week because that's when we have to get the show into Fox.
Okay.
So, but in the morning at 8:15 a.m., every single morning I'm on Good Day on Fox 13
Jeez,
talking
okay.
about what's happening on the show.
Yeah.
And we record the show on Wednesday. So record the show on Wednesday. I go home. I like prep for the next morning because I have to be up at like 6 so that way I can get on over to Fox. And then I have to come home and we have to start getting the show together. Yeah. So if I have enough time and, you know, everything is like set to where, you know, all the stars are aligned, right. I'll take a nap for like 2 hours, maybe an hour. Goodness. If it's 2 hours on a good day, but usually like an hour, I'll like try to lay down for a little bit. So that way I don't get like sleepy in the midst of the edit and while we're trying to get everything together. And then by the end of the night, I'm just drained.
Yeah. So I heard you say a lot of the stuff that you do for work, it feels like it's just stuff that you would be doing, like you enjoy doing it. But what do you do for yourself?
I think the biggest thing that I do for myself is when I can, I'll like take a bath. Like I love taking spiritual baths, you know, that's just like such a relaxing and just rejuvenating thing for me. And I like to clean my apartment.
Cleaning is something you do for yourself. Okay.
Yeah, like I'll clean because the thing is when I'm on the move so much, I don't have time to clean. Yeah. So then I'm coming home and my place is always messy. Yeah. And so I like to clean up because when I wake up in the morning, I just feel like the energy has just like shifted, when your place you know?
When your space is clean and clear, you can be refreshed and have clarity in your own life.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll clean, I'll take a bath, or I'll watch wrestling.
Okay, you're a wrestler.
I love wrestling.
A wrestling fan. Okay.
That is honestly like my biggest things of self-care. Otherwise, sometimes I'll just sit. I'll look out the window. I have a nice view of the freeway. So I'll like just look outside, watch the sunset. When my skin's not acting up with my eczema, I'll go upstairs to my rooftop. I'll sit in the jacuzzi. Nice. But you know, a lot of times just because I'm on the move so much and it's like it's not like, you know, I'm running like an actual brick and mortar business. Like I am like my business. So that's like me doing interviews. That's me going on shoots, whether it's a photo shoot or a video shoot. That's me doing interviews. Like I'm constantly having to promote the show or like thinking of next things to promote the show. So my ideal thing to do when I want to like relax is nothing.
That's real.
I just want to sit in the tub and do nothing.
That's real. I mean, that also is self-care though. Yeah. Word on the curb. There's a couple of trending topics and I just wanted to bring them up and get your opinion on them. So one, do you eat meat? Okay.
I just had a whole sausage.
Period. Chef Bobby Flay says that steaks should be medium. A lot of chefs in the industry will say they should be rare or medium rare. How do you get your steak?
Medium rare.
Okay, that's kind of bloody, right? Or no?
First of all, it's not blood. Okay, let's do that.
I'm just asking because I'm a medium girl, but I just want to know.
I like the medium rare, honestly.
Okay, that's red. That's not pink.
Yeah, it's like it's not like pink to where it's like, oh my goodness, like there's like mush in here. But you know, when it's done right, to me it's juicier. Yeah, like I feel like the more well done it is, I'm like eating a puck. And I don't like
well
meat.
done is not.
Now I have the hiccups and all the things, you know. It's like there's not enough gravy for me. There's not enough steak sauce. Oh my goodness. Okay. I just like I love a good medium rare, medium type steak. And I think it's because the first time that I actually had a really good steak, I was like on a date with like this older white guy and he was like,
okay, older white guy.
I like older men, period.
So
he was like, I was like, oh, I've never like had a really good steak. And he was like, all right, well, I'm going to order it for you. And he ordered it medium rare. And I was like,
Absolutely not.
And he's like, you got to try it. It's not blood. Like, it's just, it's like basically meat juice in a nutshell. And so I tried it. And ever since then, if my steak is overcooked, I'm annoyed.
Do you send it back or?
I'll eat it. I'm just not happy.
Okay.
I don't like people spitting in my food, so I'm not that person that really causes like a stink at restaurants. Like I'm not a.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's hair in it, fine. But if it's just like it's a little bit, I'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Okay. I'm the same way. I do not like sending stuff back because I've seen so many things.
We all saw the Eminem music video.
Right.
That scarred me to this day.
I remember one time my best friends and I, we went to a drive-thru. It was like 2:00 in the morning and we had like been out all night, went to this drive-thru, and the lady the lady that was taking our order was being kind of rude to my best friend, and she started being rude back to her, and they were yelling, cussing each other out, and my other friend was like, oh, absolutely not.
Let me get out the car.
We pulled out the drive-thru. We're like, we won't be eating here because we're not about to have her spit in our food.
No.
Yeah, it happens.
You might as well just go get some M&Ms at that point because
it's all bad.
I don't trust anything.
Okay, next topic. Have you listened to Cowboy Carter?
No.
Why?
I'm one of those people where it's like when an album is so hyped up, I don't want to listen to it anymore.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're telling me all the best songs, all the songs you don't like, you're putting out all the lyrics. Like, it just makes it it's not as enjoyable for me anymore. Like, I feel like at that point, I'm listening to it because I have to.
Right.
Rather than because, I really like Beyonce and I really want to enjoy it. Like, I'm listening to it because I have to. And then if I don't like it, then I'm looked at crazy.
Yeah.
But if I listen to it when I feel like it, maybe I'm on the road trip or, I'm in the gym or I'm just like, I'm going to clean up and now I just feel like listening to it.
Yeah.
I might end up listening to it this weekend or next week. I don't know, but I haven't even downloaded it yet.
Okay. So how do you feel about the country phase or era of Beyonce?
It's great. I think that for me, it's not even necessarily a matter of it's a country phase for Beyonce. I think what people have to realize in terms of what's happening here is that we're now seeing other Black country artists that we didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
And she's putting some of them on by putting them, putting them on her album, or they're popping up in the TikTok algorithms and people are literally like, yo, shout out to Beyonce because this person just popped up on my algorithm.
Spotify just said today that those new artists, they're not new artists, but those artists are now being played 100% more, some up to 170% more than they were before that album dropped.
I believe it because, for the longest, you think country music, you don't think Black people, even though we're like the originators of it, but we've been like pushed out of the limelight. And so we've had all of these super dope Black country artists that we just didn't even know existed.
Right.
And now we're seeing that they exist. We're enjoying their music. And I think it's giving people a different taste of music in a way that they didn't even think that they would like. It's like that vibe they didn't even know that they needed or didn't even know was actually already there. And so I think it's bigger than Beyonce at this point. And I think that Beyonce knew that it would be bigger than her, which is why she made sure to add some of them to her album.
I think that's dope. Yeah, it's definitely a movement. I mean, anything she does is a movement, and she knows that. Anything she puts her name on, people are going to respond accordingly. And so I think it was not only smart, but it was very intentional of her to bring other people along with her. It seems like that's her MO.
Oh, period.
And I love that about her.
And I think that's why she's always winning. She's constantly bringing somebody with her. She's not just like, oh, it's just about me. Like, she's constantly grabbing, artists that, like you said, they're not new artists. We just didn't know.
Didn't know. They just have new listeners now. And Beyonce's gained some new listeners as well, they said. So, all right. Another question. Costco. Do you eat the hot dogs at Costco?
I haven't as of late, but I used to.
Okay, so apparently they're not going to be allowing folks who are not members.
Heard about that. So let me tell you something about this. So, okay, they're saying if you don't have a Costco card, you can't eat at the food court.
No.
I didn't even know that you could go to the food court if you didn't have a Costco
I
card.
knew because
so now I'm mad because I've been missing out all this time. I didn't even know that was a thing. So for me, them announcing that we can't do it anymore,
I know, it's
I'm
like rubbing
wait a
it
minute.
in their face.
Wait a minute. So this was like this whole time I could have been going to get the ice cream, and the pizza, and
real.
I didn't have to go.
The smoothies.
If anything,
everything.
That's what I'm mad about. Like I didn't have a chance to take advantage of it.
So now it gives you an opportunity to get a membership. But
I don't want one. It's like, no, I'm probably am gonna get one just because Uber Eats is way too expensive. So I just would rather buy things in bulk at this point.
No, it's really bad. Like I'm lazy sometimes. By the time I get home from work, I'm like, yeah, I'll just order dinner. The fees are insane. Like, why is it like $30 extra for my food?
It's only here, right? Like when I go to Portland, I ordered. Matter of fact, no, Spokane. When I was in Spokane, I ordered food. And then I also added on an extra stop because I wanted some M&Ms and like a gallon of water.
The little 7-Eleven thing that popped up.
So like I did both. Yeah. And it still was like only about $6 extra. I
could deal with that. I could deal with
versus
the 6.
Here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. I was like, same thing, tired, need some food.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to order some food from XYZ restaurant. And literally the food was $20 and the taxes and fees were $20. Yeah,
it's insane.
So I canceled that and I went to the grocery store. Yeah. There's a photo of me online with all my groceries. And I spent $235 on groceries.
Okay.
And I was just like, no.
Yeah. It's what you're not going to do, like, DoorDash.
What? Like I will use my Uber Eats and things like that in like different cities. But when I'm here, I just like our taxes are disrespectful.
It is out of pocket. Although I still haven't protested. I
just locally protest. I'm not gonna hold you.
I'm just saying, I'm like,
order it up.
I still place my little order, but I don't be feeling good about it.
But you do once you get that food, though. You're like, you know what? That did save me some time.
Exactly, it saved me some time. Okay, I would like for us to do, it's not necessarily a game, but I call it a game time. But they are conversation cards. So I'm going to have you pull a couple cards. We can take turns pulling cards. And you're just going to answer whatever's on the card. I tried to shuffle them a little bit earlier. That wasn't a great shuffle, but them nails.
I was going to say that, but you know what? We were thinking the same thing.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, what do we got?
What was your favorite childhood meal?
Oh, it's for you to answer.
Oh, child. What was my favorite child? You know what? Top ramen.
Listen, did you put hot dogs in it or not?
No.
What? What?
No.
Oh my gosh.
And with somebody, I was like, what is this? What? I was offended one time. My cousin put hot dogs.
Yeah, that was a gourmet meal right there.
I would just make 2 packs and I couldn't, and I'm weird. Like I don't like making 2 packs together.
Okay.
So like if I do like, I have to make them. I just feel like it doesn't taste the same.
Chicken or beef?
Depends on my mood.
Okay.
Depends on my mood.
You know.
But back then, I always did beef.
I was going to say, yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've kind of liked the chicken one. But sometimes I'll like take the sauces and I'll mix them together. And then I'll do like.
Oh. I'm not going to yuck your yum, girl. I'm going to have to try it. Okay. Would you rather.
Did you say yuck your yum?
Okay. Let me tell you. There's a whole story behind this. So, I have a 5-year-old son. He loves chocolate ice cream.
Okay.
And we were having this conversation, and he was like, I just love chocolate ice cream. And I was like, ew. And he was like,
you
Mom,
don't like chocolate ice cream?
I don't. I'm not actually like a big chocolate person. But chocolate ice cream is like.
It's just a no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, I was just voicing my little opinion. And he was like, Mom, don't yuck my yum. I said, oh, I'm about to start using that.
You're like, add that to the notebook.
I'm about to start using that.
I'm probably going to end up using that at least once before the day's
over. Don't yuck somebody's yum. It's his yum. I pulled a card and put it back in. So pause. So what's my favorite fast food meal? I think okay, back in the day, I would say Wendy's because I liked their sweet and sour sauce, but they don't have that sweet and sour sauce no more.
What?
Yeah. But now I'm Chick-fil-A.
They don't have.
They have a different one. Remember when Wendy's used to have like the yellow?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the greatest Wendy's era.
Yeah, I feel bad for these kids.
They don't. Yeah, it's
They
not
don't
the same.
understand.
Yeah.
Even the Frosties aren't the same.
Yeah, I was thinking about there was something at McDonald's. Oh, the chicken wraps when they used to have those snackers or something.
Those snap wraps.
Oh my God!
Bring the snap wraps
Bring them back, McDonald's, please. Those were bomb.
Fire.
Okay, you're up.
Let's see. Which historical time period would you most like to visit? Ooh.
Tell you which one I wouldn't like to.
First of all, nothing that has to do with slavery.
Right.
Let me skip over
antebellum.
all of that. Let's skip over all of that. Honestly, I wouldn't mind being around, and I know this isn't that far back, but just on like a closeness of it, I wouldn't mind being around in the 80s. But if we were to go further back, I wouldn't mind being around in like medieval times. Like I love the castles and all the gory fighting and the
like
things
the gladiators.
That happen. Yeah,
okay.
like I just think that was like such a dope vibe back then. And there was no TVs back then. There were no phones back then. Now I don't really appreciate the bathrooms that they had back then. But I'm kind of curious about like that carefree, no real electric life. Yeah. But also these fabulous outfits and these. I was gonna say
it was
parties.
giving fashion. I mean, fashion.
So it's like we didn't have all the phones, but like. 1, we had each other. 2, the fashions were epic. 3, the events were epic. Like I just felt like it was a whole different world back then.
It was. I'm not a historical time period type of gal, so I don't really know. But I feel it.
Yeah.
Bridgerton? Is it giving Bridgerton?
Bridgerton. I'm not gonna hold you, but I want more of like the fighting and the gory fighting with like animals involved.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going
and stuff like that.
With the animals. Cool. Okay. Which of your ancestors would you most like to meet? These are getting kind of deep. I was thinking these are going to be.
We need to like reshuffle these. Wait a minute.
Ancestors. Would I have liked to meet? Well, I would say, okay, so my mom's side of the family is from South Carolina. And I always heard about just, how different it was. And they owned property that used to be plantations. And so I think I would be curious to learn more about my history in that regard. Maybe my, my grandpa's mom, so my great grandma, who also was blind and everybody was afraid of her. I don't know why. So yeah, I want to meet her.
Yeah, like grandma, what was the vibes?
Yeah, I didn't understand. She was that girl. That's what. Okay. I don't know. Okay, one more.
Let's see. If you could have front row seats to any concert, who would you like to see? Beyonce, duh. Like what?
I was going to say not Beyonce, but Beyonce. Okay.
I would love to see Beyonce up close. I can't really think of anyone else that I'm like, I really want to be able to see the sequins and the outfits up close.
Yeah. Okay, if I could think of somebody who's not here anymore, I would say Prince.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that would have been dope.
Well, then in that case, I would have loved to see Michael Jackson.
Oh, true story.
For
I know.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely would have loved to see Michael Jackson, a Tupac, a Biggie.
Yeah.
Like just the energy that they, like all of them brought on the stage, which is also different, but you could tell it was just epic. Like, I would have loved to have even seen DMX perform live back in the day.
True
you know
story,
what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to do one more and then we're going to move on. What posters did you have in your room when you were young? Okay, so I don't know if these count as posters, but I used to get the Right On magazines and pull out. So it's probably like, Amateur, IMX, Batman, Jet Jackson.
I had B2K, NSYNC, and TLC all over my wall.
Usher was on my wall. That was, I'm trying to think of, I don't remember was that My Way before 8106?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I just know I got a little obsessive. Like eventually I turned my posters into like wallpaper. So there was a point where like my whole wall was just posters. And then I was like, let's do the ceiling.
All mine was from Right On magazine. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
It might be that magazine.
They had the pull, the ones, the long pull out ones.
I would always get it from the Walgreens on 23rd and Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Right On.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you. a win is a win. Sometimes people think of their journey to success as like straight and narrow, right? Like I just kind of, this is going to happen this way or whatever. And sometimes people see setbacks or challenges or things that don't necessarily go their way as a failure. And I choose not to kind of frame it that way. I think all of the things that don't happen the way that we don't want them to happen, they just weren't supposed to happen that way. With that being said, I'm curious to know, have you experienced any challenges on your journey to where you are now? And or are there any instances of just any of your experiences that you learned from?
Patience is definitely a virtue.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I think one, I would agree with you in terms of if something doesn't happen, it wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
When I first started on the street team at iHeart, the reason why I joined iHeart Street Team is because I wanted to be on the radio. And I had just gotten out of like a really bad abusive relationship. And I was like, oh, we're going to move back to Seattle. We're going to start over. I have nothing. I have no car. He took it. It is what it is.
Wow.
It was wild.
Girl.
So, but in doing that and, me wanting to be in radio, there was no availability for me to get on air. So I just had to be on the street team. And my whole thing was, well, Cube is here, so I'm just going to try to find my way on in. But then Cube was gone.
Right.
And so, but when it finally came back, and although it went away, in order for it to come back, and when it did, it was a clean slate for us. So we had all new upper management within Cube, and it wasn't this whole thing of, well, we already have this person, we already have that person. It wasn't, I'm not saying that anyone was necessarily gatekeeping back then because I was still on the street team, so I don't really know, and I had just got there. But in this particular case, being that there were so many slots open, it was like there's a void that needed to be filled.
Right.
And these are new people. They're not from here. They don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And so because I'm already in the building, I'm going to slide my little way on in here
Right.
before somebody else tries
Right.
to. So I think that in life, and just because for me, whenever I have like bad situations, I kind of just like move past them really, really quickly, which is why they don't always pop up in my head so much, just because I don't really let them slow me down.
Yeah.
Like it'll happen, but I'll move on. Like, like for example, my apartment caught on fire back in November.
Oh my God.
And I was in there. It was pretty wild.
Whoa.
But now I live in a high-rise apartment.
Well, look at God. But first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. How did that happen?
We're not gonna talk about that.
Okay, it wasn't. Was it your?
It was my unit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like my unit caught fire, and that was pretty. It was a pretty scary moment. I was like really depressed, and I didn't really know what was gonna happen and how. But within like about a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, I was able to like get a new apartment. And, I look back at some of my vision boards. The type of building on the outside looks like a building that I had put on one of my building vision boards, where it's like big, it's tall, it has like those glass looking mirror like windows.
Yeah.
And I think that what people really have to do when something kind of happens and it's like, oh, it's going left. It's like, okay, we got to figure out why it's going left. Like, where is life trying to take you?
Right,
If you want to just sit here and wallow in things, fine. But you really kind of have to like have your moment and then keep pushing on, because something about that energy of when things aren't going the way that you want for them to go. And if you're able to really push through it, to at least in my life, that's when good things start happening.
For sure.
But you have to use that energy while it's there, and you really can't just, it's almost like it's a test. You know what I mean?
Was just
like, are you gonna
say
fail
that,
this test and just stay in a ball, or are you really just gonna push through this and make yourself go to that next level, no matter how just daunting that it may be? So for me, I've had a lot of different things happen, but I do my best to not let them keep me down for so long, because I feel like there's a reason for it, and I just have to figure out what that reason was.
That's real. And I think, being tested continuously is challenging, right? Period. My friends and I have a little, like, the inside joke, like, we don't want to be on God's Strongest Soldiers list this year or next year. We was on it last year and the year before. But I think, like you said, a lot of times things are coming to test you, and the greatness is on the other side of getting through that test. And it doesn't always feel that way, because if it's not right in front of you, you're like, the fuck,
like,
why?
Like, just what was the reason?
Okay,
what
God,
was the reason?
we got it. But no, and then the other thing that I loved about what you said is kind of like the power of manifestation, writing things down and speaking things into existence. And I don't know if that's something that you feel strongly about, but I know for myself, you know, one thing that I try to do is I like to write down things that I want to happen, either to me or for me or, you know, whatever. I find a lot of times if I write something down and whether it's in a journal or sometimes I'll write stuff down and carry it around in my wallet and stuff like that. It's a constant reminder of the things that I'm trying to obtain. But I've also noticed that when I write stuff down, sometimes people will come to me with these opportunities that I'm like, oh my God, I just
Like,
wrote
I just
that
wrote that
down.
down.
I literally was just, you know, and yeah, I believe in the power of speaking things into existence.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
speaking it and writing it and putting those two together with actual work and just
Yeah.
sometimes that work can be as simple as, man, I don't feel like going to this mixer today. And then you go to that mixer, or
Yeah.
man, I would rather just not go to this meeting and I'd rather cancel it. And then someone else pops onto that meeting and they're able to like connect the dot for you. And you're like, dang, I'm glad I didn't miss that
Yeah,
meeting.
there was
you
a
know?
reason I was here. Yeah. There's also something about being intentional, about being in the spaces that you're in.
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily have to feel like you want to be there, but when you're there, you're like, okay, well, since I'm here, I'm going to do these 3 things. I'm going to make sure I meet a new person. I'm going to make sure whatever it is, you know, because that intentionality goes a long way too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming to the end and we're going to do what we call the pour up. And it's not pouring drinks, it's pouring into each other.
Okay.
I like to wrap up with affirmation cards.
I have that deck.
Do you?
Yeah, I actually bought it at the Ladies' Night by Bingo.
Oh, you bought it from us then? Nice.
Yep.
Yes. Well, this is a Black-owned business called Listen Bitch, but you could say Listen Queen, Listen Sis, Listen Girl, whoever you want to be. And they are all about just reminding you who you are. So you probably use this already, but I'm gonna have you pull one and just read it out loud.
I was looking at this one. It says, listen, bitch, take some time to enjoy the things you worked hard for.
Does that resonate with you, sis?
Child, I'm not taking a break in so long, and it's so funny. I actually was having a conversation today, and I won't say with what resort it was, but it was all for me to do like a staycation there. They're like, yeah, you know, we would love for you to do like a, you know, a creative influencer style staycation. You could come,
as you should
go to our spa, be in the pool, you know, like, you know, do some of our activities that we have here, you know, all inclusive. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna need to do that.
Absolutely, you deserve. Yes,
it's so funny that,
and that's confirmation.
I'm like, oh, I want this.
We
one.
just
I'm
talked
like,
about that.
I'm like, well,
confirmation. Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you for coming today. I know you are super busy, and you could have been doing a million things, but you made time.
Of course.
And I appreciate you. And I want to also just give you your flowers. I think that I see you as a strong voice in Seattle through all the things that I see you everywhere. I'm like, how does she do it? How does she do it all? But you do it and you do it well. You always look good. It don't matter what's happening. You know, you're there and you're present. And so I just want to give you your flowers and tell you keep doing you. I see you, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And I also see you too. It's so dope that you were able to create your candle business, but it's so much more than just candles.
Yeah.
Like, you've created a space where people can come together, bring their friends that are in town for the weekend, or do activities with their kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they're really able to fellowship with each other while doing these dope activities. And they're able to like be creative and take that home.
Yeah.
And like, I remember seeing one girl and I was like, she was like, have you lit your candle yet? She was like, no, I don't want to light it.
I hear that like, so often.
But that means that space created such a memory for them that they don't want to light it, because then that memory, they might feel like it's going to be gone. your business is so much more than just candles. Like, it's a
Thank you.
space for like fellowship and,
Yeah.
connection and bonds. And I think that's so dope.
I received that. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, girl.
Child,
Take
I'm
a
gonna get some
nap.
free food in a minute.
And we'll see you soon. Oh, before we wrap up, where can we find you?
You can find me anywhere on social media at Besa Gordon. And then, of course, you can watch my TV show on Back to
Yes.
Base, which is called Back to Besa. Hi, obviously, I'm Besa. On Fox 13 Seattle, Saturdays, 10:30 p.m. Replay Sundays on Fox 13 Plus at 10 a.m. And then, of course, if you don't have Fox 13, you can download the free Fox Local app on
We
your
love
smart
free.
TV or
Yeah.
smartphone and watch it anywhere in the nation. And then, of course,
Come
I'm over at
on.
Converge, so you can always find me there.
Yes. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.